The notification lit up my phone while I was organizing the storage closet. A message from an unknown number. Hi, I bought some beautiful jewelry from your husband last week. One of the pieces has your mother's initials engraved inside. I thought you should know. I froze. My hands went numb. The box I was holding crashed to the floor. My mother had passed away 8 months earlier. Cancer. It took her quickly, brutally. In her final days, she held my hand and told me she wanted me to have her jewelry collection. Not because it was expensive, though some pieces were, but because every item held a memory. The pearl necklace my father gave her on their 20th anniversary. The emerald ring she wore every single day. The sapphire bracelet she bought herself after getting her first promotion. These weren't just things. They were pieces of her life. Pieces of my history. I had kept them in a velvet-lined box in our bedroom closet. A safe place. Or so I thought. My heart pounded as I typed back, "Can you send me a photo?" The response came within seconds. 3 pictures. I recognized them immediately. My mother's pearl necklace. Her emerald ring. The gold locket she wore in every family photo. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. I couldn't breathe. Tears blurred my vision, but I forced myself to keep reading. Your husband sold them at a pawn shop downtown, the message continued. I bought them from the shop owner. I'm so sorry. I had no idea they were family heirlooms until I saw the engraving. If you want them back, I'm willing to return them. I sat on the floor, my back against the wall, staring at those photos. Mark sold my mother's jewelry. My husband. The man who held me at her funeral. The man who promised he'd always support me through my grief. He sold the only physical connection I had left to her. Why? I checked our bank account immediately. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. When the page loaded, my blood turned to ice. $15,000 had been withdrawn over the past 3 weeks. Small amounts. 500 here. 1,000 there. Nothing large enough to trigger alerts, but together, it was substantial. Where did the money go? I scrolled through his credit card statements next. Charges at restaurants I'd never been to. A hotel downtown. Multiple charges. Same hotel. Different dates. Flowers from an expensive florist. Jewelry purchases, but I hadn't received any jewelry. Spa packages. Concert tickets. He was having an affair. My husband was having an affair, and he sold my dead mother's jewelry to pay for it. The rage came in waves. Hot, consuming, suffocating. But underneath the rage was something else. Hurt. Betrayal so deep it felt like my chest was caving in. I had trusted him completely. We'd been married for 6 years. We'd built a life together. Or at least, I thought we had. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw things. I wanted to confront him the second he walked through the door. But something stopped me. A small, cold voice in the back of my mind whispered, "Wait. Think. Be smart." I took a deep breath. Then another. I saved screenshots of everything. The messages. The bank statements. The credit card charges. I created a hidden folder on my phone and backed everything up to a cloud account he didn't know about. Then I responded to the kind stranger, "Thank you so much for reaching out. I would love to get those pieces back. Can we meet tomorrow?" We arranged to meet at a coffee shop. I offered to pay her what she'd spent, plus extra for her kindness. She refused the extra money but agreed to return the jewelry. "I can't imagine what you're going through," she wrote. "I'm just glad I could help." When Mark came home that evening, I was in the kitchen making dinner. Acting normal. Acting like my world hadn't just shattered into a million pieces. "Hey, babe," he said, kissing my cheek. Like nothing was wrong. Like he hadn't just betrayed me in the worst possible way. "Hey," I replied, my voice steady. "How was work?" "Exhausting." We had back-to-back meetings all day. He loosened his tie and grabbed a beer from the fridge. "What's for dinner?" Chicken and rice. Sounds good. He sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through his phone. Texting someone. Smiling at his screen. I wanted to throw the hot pan at his face. Instead, I smiled. Long day, huh? Yeah. He didn't even look up. That night, I lay awake beside him. He was snoring softly, completely at peace. Meanwhile, I was planning. Calculating. I thought about everything we owned together. The house, my inheritance from my grandmother, had paid the down payment. The car, titled in my name. Our savings account, I'd contributed 70% of it. By the time the sun came up, I had a plan. The next morning, I told Mark I was meeting an old friend for coffee. He barely acknowledged me, too busy texting on his phone. I drove to the coffee shop and met the woman who'd bought my mother's jewelry. She was younger than I expected, maybe mid-20s, with kind eyes and a warm smile. "I'm so glad I could find you," she said, handing me a small bag. Inside were 3 pieces of my mother's jewelry. Not all of them, but it was a start. Tears streamed down my face as I held the pearl necklace. "Thank you. You have no idea what this means to me." "I'm just sorry about what happened," she said softly. "If there's anything else I can do." "Actually," I said, wiping my eyes, "there is. Can you tell me which pawn shop you bought these from?" She gave me the address. After we parted ways, I drove straight to the pawn shop. It was a small, dingy place on the edge of downtown. The owner was a middle-aged man with gray hair and suspicious eyes. I showed him a photo of Mark. "Do you recognize this man?" He squinted at the screen. "Yeah. He's been in a few times over the past month. Sold quite a bit of jewelry. Do you still have any of it?" "Some. But I can't just hand it over. I paid for it." "I understand. Those items were stolen from me. Family heirlooms. I'm willing to buy them back, whatever you paid, plus 20%. He considered this. "You got proof they're yours?" I showed him photos of my mother wearing the jewelry. Photos with dates. He sighed and nodded. "All right. Give me a minute." 20 minutes later, I walked out with 4 more pieces. It had cost me $3,000, money from my personal savings account, but I had recovered most of my mother's collection. A few pieces were still missing, likely sold to private buyers, but I had the most important ones. As I sat in my car, holding my mother's jewelry, a cold determination settled over me. Mark had stolen from me. He had betrayed me. He thought I was too weak, too grief-stricken, too broken to fight back. He was about to learn how wrong he was. That afternoon, I called a divorce attorney. A good one. Recommended by a colleague who'd been through a messy split. Her name was Patricia, and she had a reputation for being ruthless. "Tell me everything," Patricia said when we met in her office. I laid it all out. The affair. The stolen jewelry. The financial records. Everything. She listened carefully, taking notes. When I finished, she looked up with a slight smile. "You've done excellent work documenting everything. This is going to be very straightforward. Your husband has committed theft and marital misconduct. In this state, that gives us significant leverage." "I want everything," I said. My voice was calm, but inside, I was burning. The house, the car, the savings. I want him to walk away with nothing. "We'll do our best," Patricia assured me. "But I need you to do something for me. Don't confront him yet. Don't let him know you're aware of anything. We need to file the paperwork first and ensure all assets are protected. Can you do that?" "Yes." "Good. Also, I recommend you open a separate bank account immediately. Transfer your portion of the savings, actually, transfer a bit more than your portion, given his unauthorized withdrawals. If he questions it, you can claim you were making a large purchase. But we need to secure your funds before he realizes what's happening." I followed her instructions to the letter. That evening, while Mark was in the shower, I transferred 60% of our joint savings into a new account. $45,000. He'd taken $15,000 for his affair. I was taking what was rightfully mine. He thought I was weak, but he had no idea I was already 3 steps ahead. Over the next week, I played the role of oblivious wife perfectly. I cooked his meals. I did his laundry. I smiled when he kissed me goodbye. All while Patricia worked behind the scenes, filing divorce papers and preparing our case. Mark suspected nothing. He was too distracted by his affair. He came home later and later, always with flimsy excuses. Work event. Team dinner. Client meeting. I just nodded and said, okay. One evening, he came home with a new watch. Expensive. Designer. I recognized it immediately. I'd seen the charge on his credit card. Nice watch, I said casually. He glanced at his wrist, then smiled. Oh, yeah. Got a bonus at work. Thought I'd treat myself. Liar. There was no bonus. I'd already checked with his HR department, pretending to call about insurance. There had been no bonuses issued in 6 months. You deserve it, I said sweetly. That night, I added the watch to my documentation. More evidence of his deception. A few days later, Patricia called. We're ready. The papers have been filed. A process server will deliver them to him at his office tomorrow at 10 a.m. Perfect. Also, I've filed for a temporary restraining order requiring him to stay away from the marital home. He'll be served with that as well. Do you have somewhere safe to be when he finds out? I'll be at work. But I'm changing the locks tomorrow afternoon, just to be safe. Smart. One more thing, his credit cards. You're an authorized user on his accounts, correct? Yes. I'd recommend making a few strategic purchases today. Nothing crazy, but enough to limit his available credit. It'll make the next few days more difficult for him. I smiled. I can do that. That afternoon, I went shopping. Not for myself, well, not entirely. I bought new locks for the house. Security cameras for the front and back doors. A new laptop to replace the old one I'd been complaining about for months. I also paid 6 months in advance on several household bills, utilities, insurance, everything I could prepay. By the time I was done, I'd spent $8,000 on his credit card. His available credit was now maxed out. The next morning, I went to work as usual. At 9:45 a.m., I texted Mark, "Hope you have a great day," with a smiley face. He responded, "Thanks, babe. You too." At 10:15 a.m., my phone rang. It was Mark. I didn't answer. He called again. And again. Then the text started. What the hell is this? You filed for divorce? Call me now. This is insane. We need to talk. I didn't respond. Instead, I silenced my phone and focused on my work. Let him panic. Let him scramble. He deserved every second of confusion and fear. At lunch, I had a locksmith meet me at the house. Within an hour, all the locks were changed. I installed the security cameras myself. They were surprisingly easy to set up. Now I'd have video evidence if he tried to come by. When I got home from work that evening, there were 17 missed calls and 32 text messages from Mark. I read through them all. They followed a predictable pattern: anger, denial, bargaining, more anger. You're being ridiculous. We can work this out. You can't just kick me out of my own house. I'm coming over tonight. We need to talk. I responded to only one message: per the restraining order, you are not permitted to come to the house. All communication should go through my attorney. Her contact information is on the papers you were served. His response was immediate: "Are you serious right now?" I blocked his number. Over the next few days, Mark tried everything. He showed up at my workplace, security escorted him out. He tried to access our joint bank account. I'd already removed my name and withdrawn my portion. He attempted to use his credit cards, all maxed out. He called my friends and family, trying to paint me as the villain. But I'd already told them everything. I'd shown them the evidence. They were on my side. His own mother called me. Sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I had no idea Mark was capable of this. If there's anything I can do. Thank you, I said, genuinely touched. That means a lot. He's always been selfish, but this is beyond anything I imagined. You deserve so much better. Even his family had turned against him. The divorce proceedings moved quickly. Patricia was as ruthless as her reputation promised. She presented all the evidence, the affair, the theft, the financial misconduct. Mark's attorney tried to argue for a 50-50 split of assets, but Patricia demolished every argument. Your client stole family heirlooms and sold them to fund an extramarital affair, she said coldly during a mediation session. He withdrew marital funds without my client's knowledge or consent. He has demonstrated a complete lack of integrity and trustworthiness. My client is entitled to compensation for these damages, not to mention the emotional distress he's caused. Mark sat across the table, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. He wouldn't meet my eyes. His attorney whispered something to him, and he slumped further in his chair. We'd like to propose a settlement, his attorney said finally. The settlement gave me everything. The house. The car. 70% of the remaining savings. He was also required to pay me $15,000 in restitution for the jewelry he'd stolen, the exact amount he'd withdrawn from our account. Sign it, his attorney urged him quietly. Mark looked at me for the first time since the meeting started. You're really doing this? You're taking everything? I met his gaze without flinching. You stole from me. You betrayed me. You sold my dead mother's jewelry to pay for your affair. What did you expect? I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. What you did was calculated, selfish, and cruel. Sign the papers, Mark. He signed. A month later, the divorce was finalized. I was officially free. Mark had moved in with his affair partner, a woman from his office, predictably. From what I heard through mutual acquaintances, the relationship was already falling apart. Apparently, she wasn't interested in supporting a broke, newly divorced man with no assets and a mountain of debt. Karma is funny that way. As for me, I thrived. I started therapy to process everything I'd been through. I reconnected with old friends. I redecorated the house, every room, erasing every trace of Mark's presence. I planted a garden in the backyard in my mother's memory, filling it with her favorite flowers, roses, lavender, and lilies. I wore her jewelry often. The pearl necklace when I went to important meetings. The emerald ring on special occasions. Each piece reminded me of her strength, her grace, her resilience. She'd overcome so much in her life. And now, so had I. 6 months after the divorce, I got a promotion at work. A significant one, with a substantial raise. I celebrated by taking myself on a solo trip to Italy, something I'd always wanted to do but Mark had always dismissed as too expensive or impractical. I spent 2 weeks exploring Rome, Florence, and Venice. I ate incredible food, saw breathtaking art, and felt more alive than I had in years. While I was in Florence, standing in front of Michelangelo's David, I received a text from an unknown number. For a moment, my heart jumped. Was it Mark? But no. It was the woman who'd first contacted me about the jewelry. Hi. I hope this isn't weird, but I've been thinking about you. I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. I hope things worked out okay. I smiled and typed back, things worked out better than okay. Thank you again for everything you did. You helped me more than you'll ever know. I'm so glad, she responded. You seem like a really strong person. I hope you're living your best life. I am, I wrote back. And I meant it. When I returned home, I found an envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a short note written in Mark's handwriting. I know you'll probably throw this away without reading it, but I need to say this. I'm sorry. I was selfish and stupid, and I destroyed the best thing in my life. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I regret everything. I read it once. Then I tore it into small pieces and threw it in the trash. His apology meant nothing. It was too late. Far too late. But the truth was, I didn't need his apology. I didn't need his regret. I didn't need anything from him. I'd already moved on. I'd already rebuilt my life into something better, stronger, more authentic than it had ever been with him. A few months later, I ran into Mark at a grocery store. It was awkward. He looked terrible, tired, older, defeated. He was with a woman I didn't recognize. Not the affair partner. Someone new, I guessed. "Hi," he said quietly. "Hi," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "You look good. Really good." "Thanks." There was an uncomfortable pause. The woman with him shifted impatiently. "Well," he said finally, "take care of yourself." "You too." I walked away without looking back. As I loaded groceries into my car, the car that was fully paid off and titled in my name alone, I felt a sense of closure I hadn't even realized I was seeking. Seeing him had confirmed what I already knew: I'd made the right choice. I'd chosen myself. I'd chosen my dignity. I'd chosen my mother's legacy. And I'd won. Today, almost a year after that text message that changed everything, I'm happier than I've been in years. I've started dating again, casually, nothing serious, but I'm in no rush. I'm enjoying my independence. I've joined a book club. I've taken up painting. I've made new friends. I've deepened relationships with old ones. Every morning, I wake up in my house, and feel grateful. Grateful for my strength. Grateful for my mother's example. Grateful that I had the courage to fight back instead of accepting betrayal. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how harshly I handled the divorce. If I feel bad about taking everything. My answer is always the same: no. Not for a second. Mark made his choices. He stole from me. He betrayed me. He tried to break me during the worst period of my life. He gambled that I was too weak, too sad, too broken to fight back. He lost that bet. I'm not the woman he married, the woman who would have forgiven him, who would have tried to make it work, who would have sacrificed her own happiness for the sake of preserving a marriage. That woman died when my mother died. Or maybe she died when I saw those photos of my mother's jewelry in a stranger's hands. The woman I am now is stronger. Wiser. Unshakable. I know my worth. I know I deserve better. And I refuse to settle for anything less. My mother taught me many things, but the most important lesson came after she was gone: sometimes the people you love most will disappoint you. Sometimes they'll betray you. Sometimes they'll try to break you. But you have a choice in how you respond. You can crumble, or you can rise. I chose to rise. Last week, on what would have been my mother's 65th birthday, I went to her grave. I brought her favorite flowers, pink roses, and I sat there for a long time, just talking to her. I told her about everything that had happened. I told her about the divorce, about getting her jewelry back, about my trip to Italy, about my new life. And then I said something I'd been needing to say for a long time: thank you, Mom. Thank you for showing me what strength looks like. Thank you for leaving me pieces of yourself to hold on to. Thank you for making me strong enough to survive this. The wind picked up, rustling the leaves on the trees around me. And for just a moment, I swear I felt her presence. A warmth. A comfort. A confirmation that she was proud of me. I'm wearing her pearl necklace as I write this. It catches the light from the window, gleaming softly against my skin. A reminder of where I come from. A reminder of who I am. A reminder that I am my mother's daughter, and I carry her strength in everything I do. Mark thought he broke me when he sold these pearls. He thought he could erase my history, fund his selfish desires, and I'd never be the wiser. He thought I was weak. He thought wrong. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't loud or dramatic. It's not about public humiliation or elaborate schemes. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply taking back what's yours and building a life so good, so fulfilling, so authentically yours that the person who tried to destroy you becomes completely irrelevant. I don't think about Mark anymore. Not with anger, not with sadness, not with anything really. He's just a chapter in my story. A difficult one, certainly. A painful one. but also the chapter that taught me who I really am. The chapter that showed me my own strength. The chapter that set me free. People sometimes tell me I should be angrier. That I should hate him more. But I don't. Hate requires energy I'd rather spend on myself. On my healing. On my growth. On my happiness. He thought he could take everything from me. My trust. My love. My mother's legacy. My future. Instead, he gave me something far more valuable. He gave me myself back. He showed me I don't need anyone to complete me. I don't need anyone to validate me. I don't need anyone's permission to live fully and authentically. So thank you, Mark. Thank you for betraying me. Thank you for being selfish and cruel. Thank you for forcing me to become the woman I was always meant to be. I'm living well. I'm living freely. I'm living on my own terms. And every single day, I'm grateful that I had the courage to fight for myself when it mattered most. He thought he broke me. Instead, he built the woman I am today. And she's unstoppable.